This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast on this 17th day of June, 2025. We are rolling right through the month here, and we are about to talk about a Monday Night Raw that was pretty crazy, with two big returns, with a massive injury, King of the Ring matches. We have implications for Saturday Night Main Event. We have implications, obviously, for Night of Champions. So a pretty crazy Monday Night Raw, for better and for worse. We'll get into all of it in a moment. I want to welcome you to the show if you haven't joined us before. This is the WWE Podcast, where we come to you 4 or 5 times a week with nostalgic content, with up-to-date analysis on NXT, on not AEW, but Raw, SmackDown, PLEs. We have a After Dark show that's produced every single Wednesday. We have which by the way is exclusive only to patrons. We have a SmackDown review that is done by Amanda. We have Daniel, who covers the WWE Main Event show. And of course, our WrestleMagic team will pop in every once in a while with an interview. So quite a range of content here. If you like wrestling, no better place to be than here. And as I said, you want to go ad free, patreon.com/WWE podcast, or you go to Apple and click the subscribe button. All right, so let's dive into it. Let's go, because I know we want to talk about the big ticket items. Let's talk first about the Liv Morgan injury. That seems to be front and center for a lot of people, right up there, obviously, with the Goldberg return, and we will talk about that. But Liv Morgan, in a freak injury in a match with Kairi Sane, did something bad to her shoulder. I mean, by watching the video, it looks like, to the untrained eye, a dislocated shoulder and or elbow or both, and it did not look good. Okay, it looked very painful. They stopped the match, as they should. Liv said she couldn't go on. This is not planned. This is not a work. And the announcers treated it as such. Kairi got some heat for doing weird things in the ring, but what is she supposed to do? She has to buy time. You know, I don't even want to get into that. People are getting on Kairi for just doing things in the ring that made no sense. Well, no one plans for an injury, you know, so that's really a non-factor. But for Liv, it does really suck for her, because she is in a great place right now in her career, on fire in the Judgment Day. Her and Dom were potentially on the outs, but maybe not. They were involved in a fun story. Liv has never been hotter. She is just in a really nice place, and it's bad timing. Now, I remember hearing this from one of the veterans in the documentaries, the dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, that I've watched, as you have, throughout the years. And there's a theme, though, that I've heard from veterans in the business, and that is that injuries tend to happen not with those fantastical moves, the spectacular bumps, but something ordinary that causes an injury, something that you don't expect, something you've done a million times, and that one time you do it, you get hurt. Something freakish happens, and that's what happened here. And it wasn't a big bump. It was just a routine fall by Liv Morgan, and she's out. I don't know for how long. If you look at the injury, and we all have at this point, she had her arms extended, and she took the bump with her arms extended, which makes sense that would actually happen to your shoulder. Think about yourself taking a bump, putting the majority of your own body weight on your shoulder that's extended. That doesn't feel good. I can feel it in my mind, almost physically, how painful that would be, because when your arm's extended like that, your leverage is significantly reduced to take that bump, because your shoulder is at a much weaker point. It's not tucked into your body where you can absorb more impact. And so I understand how the injury happened, but it's a very uncommon way to have that happen with that kind of fall that, I'm sure she's taken many, many times. So I feel for her. I wish her a speedy recovery. I do hope she's back at this point in time for WrestleMania 42. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm setting the bar low, and if it's something that can be healed in a matter of weeks, great. If she's back by SummerSlam, great, but I highly doubt it. Again, this is coming from an untrained non-doctor's perspective, that this is probably going to be a several-month injury and hiatus for her, which is not good, not fun. She likely will miss SummerSlam in all odds here. So, stinks. But also for Nikki Bella, who, again, I'm no fan of for a lot of different reasons. So many. And I laid them out in the weekend review about what Nikki Bella has meant to the business and why I think she doesn't really understand that there's no real fan base for Nikki Bella except Nikki Bella. But now she doesn't have an opponent that they were likely building towards in the Evolution PLE for the women. So they'll have to find another suitable opponent for Nikki Bella, or maybe this will just encourage her to step aside. Highly doubt it. So big night from that perspective with the major injury to Liv Morgan. And, we'll have to see what the diagnosis is. News on that front should be coming to us shortly. I wouldn't imagine that it's going to take long for WWE and or Liv Morgan herself to announce what the injury is officially and the estimated timetable of return. They'll give us a range, 4 to 6 months, 3 to 5 months, hell, maybe 1 to 2 months, maybe 6 to 9 months. I don't know. We're all hoping it's, again, a number of weeks instead of a number of months, but with shoulder injuries, and particularly how painful that one looked, probably, I'm looking in the 3 to 5 month range, which, if that's true, would put us right at the end of the year, November, December timeframe, and likely in time for WrestleMania. So again, that's why I'm aiming really low, and then we'll see what happens. So that obviously is the big news story with Liv Morgan getting injured and what that means, and how Dirty Dom is going to respond, and what his story is going to be without the Liv Morgan piece in his story. He can certainly continue to defend the Intercontinental Championship and maybe even look to a full-fledged babyface turn upon his solo venture here. I know he's with the Judgment Day, but he won't have Liv by his side. But overall, it may not be a bad thing for Dom, and I would like the crowd to just maybe let him talk. I thought we were over this. Guys. Apparently not, since Io Sky went face-to-face with Liv, and obviously Io Sky is super over and one of the top baby faces. So in that case, it defaults Dom back to being a heel, and he ends up getting kicked by Io, and Liv Morgan also took a bump there earlier in the show before her injury with the match that she had with Kairi Sane. So Dom is going to have to find his own way here, and once Liv returns, we'll see where they want to go with that story. Now, moving on here to the other big story. William Goldberg. Ever heard that before? I've never said that before. William Goldberg, also known as Bill Goldberg or Oldberg. Now, I know that a lot of you are expecting me to come on here and tear WWE a new one and say how bad of a decision this is, and there's no need, and Goldberg is well past his prime. That's not a secret to anyone, including Goldberg himself. And all of that is true. Those are all just objective facts that he's past his prime. He never had a prime in the ring. He just injured fewer people, I guess you could say. But I'm not going to come on here and I'm not going to rant about it. That may disappoint or make some of you happy. The reason is, while I was hopeful that this match wouldn't happen, I don't think there's a need for it to happen. I don't think Goldberg should ever have a match again. I said that after his last one. He has never been smooth in the ring. Even when he was 25 years younger, he wasn't. His matches are, incredibly short. We all know who and what he is. I'm not looking for a 5-star classic, but the over-under on this match with Gunther has probably got to be about 4 minutes. Now, somebody put out a tweet. I don't know if it was Gunther himself or somebody did. It might have been. I've seen a meme where Gunther said, quote, and I don't know if he actually said this, but there's it's a meme out there that Gunther said, I guess I can spare a few minutes, referring to Goldberg in his match. And the implication, if you didn't get the joke, is that Goldberg's matches are incredibly short. And it's going to be. And we all know what it is. So from a match quality perspective, we're just going to chalk this one up. It's Saturday night main event. And you know what? I'm going to take the high road approach to this, the very rare occasion that I'm going to take the high road approach to this, and just say, hey, Goldberg, despite his insane limitations in the ring, had everything else going for him. And that's intensity, a look, and a presence about him. Right guy, right place, right time. Despite the fact that he has less ability than most, a lot less ability than most in the ring and on the mic, and he's very, very limited as well. So he made it pretty damn far in pro wrestling without having two key areas that you need to have for most to excel. But I'm going to take the high road and just say, look, this has got to be his final match. It's in Atlanta. It's against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And number two, there isn't a world in which I can conceive Goldberg winning this match. There's just no universe that this could happen. There isn't even a parallel universe in which it should, could, or would happen. I can't imagine it. So the fact that Goldberg's almost 100% guaranteed to lose, he's barely walking to the ring. He's already out of breath by the time he gets to the ring. I understand it's in front of his family. I genuinely feel for his family in a good way. I mean, if I was his son, I would be proud to see my dad in the ring too. I can say that and also acknowledge that he's incredibly limited in the ring, and I thought he should have retired 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and that's fine. That's my own opinion. But from a human perspective, I also understand why he wants to do that. Have one final go in his hometown against Gunther for the world title. Fine. And you know what? So that's the positives here. That's the positive is it's a match that is, in some people's minds, a fantasy matchup. Not in most, but in some. Goldberg is a big name. It will draw eyeballs to the product. That's ultimately what the company's after. And he gets to wrestle in front of his family in his hometown. Those are all positives. And it's also another name that Gunther can cross off his list that he's beaten. This will help get Gunther back on track after his debacle of a loss at WrestleMania. It won't cure it, but it'll get him in the right started off on the right foot by doing that and beating Goldberg. And I would actually have him beat Goldberg decisively. I would even have him bloody Goldberg if you really want to put some emphasis on the victory. Have him just squash Goldberg and bloody him. Now, that's not going to happen, but I want it to. If you're going to use Goldberg in any kind of way on his way out in his final match, which it's not being billed as his final match, but come on, please, it has to be. You want all the equity you can get out of that guy. Have Gunther do it in a way that is memorable. So that's what I would do is that. Now, what are they probably going to do? They're probably going to have Goldberg do what he normally does, try to hit a spear early in the match. Maybe he misses, and then 30 seconds later he hits a spear, and oh my God, kick out, kick out, kick out, kick out, powerbomb, kick out, powerbomb, powerbomb, powerbomb. 1, 2, 3, Gunther retains. That's it. I mean, I gave you the match in 15 seconds. That's what this is going to be. Probably. I like my version much better, but that's probably what it's going to be. The typical Goldberg matchup. And the reason is that they won't venture outside of that is because, number one, Goldberg can't. So they're not going to try to surprise us with all of a sudden he has a moveset beyond 3. They're not going to do that because he simply can't. And it's also unsafe to even try at this age. So that's out the window. There's not going to be a surprise. Oh my God, wow, we're not getting a typical Goldberg match. No, it's going to be. It's going to be. And Gunther will win. He has to win. Now, the fact that Goldberg comes back and every single time he comes back, he believes he's just, in storyline, that his character is just owed a championship match every time he returns is just, of course, on its face insane. And how the fans aren't turning on Goldberg already is pretty incredible. But sometimes star power supersedes logic, especially if you're in person. When you're in person for this stuff, even if it makes no sense and there's clearly a sense of entitlement for the Goldberg character, it's all superseded by, oh my God, I'm here for Goldberg returning. And people just cheer for that. They're cheering for the moment rather than the logic. A lot of times those two things are at odds. And star power wins. So, but overall, guys, I mean, I'm just, hey, let it go. I'm not going to go crazy about this. We know what it's going to be. It'll be over in a couple of weeks, and we can move on with our lives. You know, more than a couple of weeks, but it'll be done, over with, and we'll never see Goldberg again. He can ride off into the sunset in front of his family, and Gunther can move on to his next real opponent at SummerSlam, whoever wins the King of the Ring for the men. Seth Rollins? Maybe. Is it potentially Cody Rhodes? I mean, who knows? Cody Rhodes, though, would probably chase John Cena. So, this is going to be a fun next couple of weeks as we see what Goldberg can do on the mic, which, of course, we all know what that is. All right. So, let's talk about the rest of Monday Night Raw. And Liv Morgan did come out at the beginning of the show. And she said, welcome to Monday Night Morgan. Hey, why? Can we stop? Okay. Yes, I'm going to say something because this is so stupid. I don't need, and I love Liv. I love what she's done with the transformation. I just gave her a whole bunch of flowers at her feet, and I wish her the best. But at the same time, I don't need wrestlers trying to fit their name cleverly or not so cleverly into the phrase, the title of the show, Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Rollins, right? How many times we heard that? Monday Night Morgan. Yeah, but it's just, I'm sure there's other examples that just aren't coming to mind. I don't need that. And also, again, I don't need wrestlers welcoming us to the show. They're not the host of the show. They are the show. This is just such a small thing. Can't they just open up and just, for the love of God, just get into their stories instead of towing the corporate line and saying, welcome to the, I mean, I don't get it. That was even in the Vince McMahon era, so I don't even, it's not really a TKO thing. Moving on. I don't want to get onto this too much. So Morgan said she was there to talk about respect, and everyone needed to be reminded that it's her division. She said Nikki Bella had to learn the hard way, and said that Nikki was at home, beat up watching on her television, and Morgan mocked Io Sky for stating that Bella paved the way. Morgan said she paved her own way, and then boasted that she is the first and only 4-time women's tag team champion, and Morgan said she wasn't asking for respect, she was demanding it. I like how, you know what I'm going to say here, how Liv Morgan actually mocked Io Sky for stating that Bella paved the way, because that was a talking point, not just among me. I mean, other podcasters, and even Nikki mentioned it on her own podcast, that it's the ignorant men that are stating this. Yet we are the core audience. We still remain WWE's core consumer, are these ignorant men, which simply is translation for I don't like your opinion. I can't dispute it. I just don't like it. So I'm going to essentially say you're mansplaining things. That's what that is. Of course, it's ridiculous. And I guess anything you have an opinion on with the men, you're not qualified to speak on, right, Nikki? Or does it not go two ways? Can we say that you are no longer able to speak on any kind of men's issues at all? You're not a male wrestler. So no, you get to speak on nothing other than the women's issues, right? Because that's how things work. There's really nothing about Nikki Bella that I find appealing. Like, actually nothing. From her in-ring character that I never was a fan of at all. I don't care if she's the longest rating Divas champion. That's like saying, I'm the longest rating 24/7 champion, or probably more accurately, I'm the longest reigning KB Toys replica WWE champion of all time. That's how meaningful the Divas Championship was. That shouldn't even go on your resume. Like, I'd hide that. I'd try to erase that part. I wouldn't even mention it. That's not a flex, as they say. She didn't pave anything. There's nothing she paved. She didn't clear the way. She wasn't a trailblazer. She didn't do anything of significance other than be remembered for the Total Bellas. She carried a butterfly belt for a little while. She did a little stripper dance, and she continues to at her age, at the top of the ramp. And she dated John Cena for a while. That's it. She didn't pave a thing. Is anything I'm saying wrong? Or is it just because I'm a dude that she has a problem with it? Yet we are the core audience, and we still are the majority demographic that consume professional wrestling. So if you want to alienate your male audience, yeah, you go right ahead. Just everything on a personal and professional level about Nikki Bella, even listening to her talk, she's just got this cadence about her that's just, she's not even interesting to listen to. I only listened to her show to hear what she had to say about the whole paving the way line, but it'll be the first and last time I listen to the Nikki Bella show, because she's just, sometimes you hear on camera with characters and wrestlers that, they're not too interesting on the camera with the character they're trying to portray, but then you get them on the mic, the non-scripted, and they're just kind of doing their own podcast or being interviewed, and you're like, wow, this person's actually pretty interesting. They've got a lot to say. They're insightful, well-spoken. I wish they would bring that to the screen. With Nikki, it's, nope, who you see on screen is exactly who she is in person. It's exactly who you would imagine she'd be. The insufferable nature of her personality. That's just, again, my opinion. You guys may love Nikki Bella, and that's fine. That's fine. You don't need to like who I like, and I don't need to like who some people like either. It's just but I guess I'm just an ignorant guy, right? Whatever that's supposed to mean. All right. So thank you, Liv Morgan, for bringing that up. That made me laugh. So Io Sky comes out, and in the ring, Sky said Morgan disrespected Nikki and her, and said she was right there if Morgan wanted to fight her. Morgan says she wants to fight Sky, but only for her championship. And Sky said Morgan has to earn a title shot. She can't just steal a title like she stole Dom. That was a good line. I also like here how they're allowing Io to speak. Like, in other words, not just do the Asuka bit, where all you ever heard from Asuka was, "You're not ready for Asuka." That's literally the only thing you heard from her for years, outside of her cartoonish facials and noises and things, which is actually a testament to her that she's able to get as high as she did, Asuka that is, with not really cutting a single promo in her entire career in English for the United States audience. I mean, we still loved her. She overcame her inability to speak to the audience with how good she was in the ring and how cartoonish she was, like over the top. So she was able to compensate a little bit, not fully, but a little bit, for her lack of being able to cut a promo, which again is a credit to Asuka. And we saw her in action last night too. We'll talk about that. All right, so then I already talked about what happened with Io Sky drop kicking Liv and kicking Dom, and that was it. We then have Asuka versus Stephanie Vacour, and Ivy Nile and Raquel Rodriguez in a 4-way Queen of the Ring match. Asuka was out, by the way, this was noted by Cole, for 13 months. Yes, 13 months. So the last time we saw Asuka in action was May of 2024. It has been a long time, so it's good to see her back. It's good to see her back. She's got a new finish, too. We'll talk about that in a sec. But this match went... What's the timestamp on this? I got to get it right. 15 minutes and 50 seconds with Asuka winning, beating Raquel and Ivy Nile and Stephanie Vacour. And it was because Rhea Ripley showed up and pulled Rodriguez out of the ring after she hit a Tejada bomb on Stephanie Vacour. And Ripley then beat on Rodriguez and then hit her with Riptide on the floor. That looked brutal. And then Ripley tossed Rodriguez back in the ring. Asuka hit her with a hip attack, which I can't remember. It looked a little bit like rear view by the old finish by Naomi. But there was a name for it, and I can't remember. Somebody out there, I'm sure, will email me what Asuka's new finish name is. Cole pointed it out, and I couldn't remember it. It was some kind of hip attack. And then, Asuka gets the victory. So we then have this Friday night set up in a semifinal match. Alexa Bliss taking on Asuka in a King of the Ring quarter semifinal match. Or not a quarter semifinal, just a semifinal match for Queen of the Ring. So, decent match. Nice to see Asuka back. And we'll have to see. It is interesting, though, Alexa Bliss and Asuka in a semifinal match. That's not an easy pick. Boy, is that a tough one. Because people have been waiting for Alexa Bliss to just do something of significance since she returned. Like, give us anything. And she's largely done nothing. And at the same time, you have Asuka who's returning. So when someone returns, traditionally you have them get a little hot. You want to make an impact. You don't want to have them just return and lose. It's a tough one to call. I would imagine it's Asuka, but there is a big case to be made for Alexa Bliss as well. So if you guys are bettors, if you like to bet on these types of events, I beg you to stay away from that match for SmackDown. Okay. Cole hyped the SummerSlam kickoff for the Fanatics Fest event in New York at the Javits Center. And then Raquel Rodriguez had an ice pack on her neck in the Judgment Day Clubhouse, where we had Finn, JD, and Dom show up. And Liv showed up and wanted to talk to Rodriguez about strategy. Rodriguez said she was not medically cleared. Morgan got upset, said she'd handled it herself, and walked out. We had McDonough ask Dom why he had to wrestle AJ Styles when he and Balor were supposed to go after the tag titles. Dom talked about how Styles had been breathing down his neck, and he told McDonough to take care of Styles so he could go back to chasing the tag titles next week. Balor, this is a longer segment than I remember. Balor told Rodriguez that he thinks she's doing great regardless of what Morgan told her, and Rodriguez thanked him. And Balor told Perez that he knew Morgan said she wanted to handle things herself, but he had an idea. And Balor and Perez left the room while Rodriguez looked around. So we have, again, a little bit of behind the scenes undermining of each other here. And you're wondering when the Judgment Day is going to fall apart. We've been waiting for that forever. Even myself predicted it would be WrestleMania. Here we are in June, deep into June, and they're going strong. But the more I look at this, and with the Liv Morgan injury, Liv Morgan is the straw that stirs the drink in this whole group. I mean, she just is the one that is arguably the biggest star in that group. Arguably. Because Finn Balor doesn't do a whole bunch of anything. I mean, he's been in the shadow of just everyone else for the last 4 years. Dom is Intercontinental Champion, but he also is still attached to Liv, and you're waiting for that to totally disintegrate. And you have Perez, who's the newcomer. She hasn't really made a name yet for herself other than trying to be the dissenter. So it's really Liv Morgan who's the star. She really is. Okay, so Gunther comes out and he says that he's heard all the rumors and chatter about what's next for him. And Gunther says, after some Goldberg chants, that no, because that guy learned his lesson. And Gunther addressed Seth, holding Money in the Bank, and said, I'm right here. Goldberg comes out, and then he told Gunther not to be concerned because it was his night after winning the championship, and said he had one more thing to talk about before he left, and recalled Gunther starting something with him and his family in Atlanta several months ago, and Goldberg said he would make sure he finished it in Atlanta, and that's going to be on Saturday, July 12th for the championship. I mean, I don't think the championship was mentioned, but it's going to be. And he said, you're next, and that was it. So while they're not calling this his retirement match, maybe they are leaving it open-ended, perhaps. But I hope not. Maybe they don't want it to be a retirement match because if they put the title on the line, they know that they're giving away the finish by making it a retirement match for the championship. Because why would you put a title on a guy that's retiring? So perhaps they're not advertising it as his final match. But honestly, I think they should. Because even if they don't label it as a retirement match, by default, every Goldberg match we see is a retirement match. And there's no need to ever put a championship on Goldberg ever again. So they might as well just say it's a retirement match because we all know the finish is going to be Goldberg losing. So let's move on. We have AJ Styles versus JD McDonough in a match that went 10.5 minutes. Nice smooth finish here with Styles getting the Styles Clash and the victory. After the match, Dom tried to hit Styles with the Intercontinental title belt, but Styles avoided it and then put Dom down and went to the ropes, but Finn came out, pulled Dom out, and that was pretty much it. And we had a little bit of cat and mouse game here. That was it. Styles did hold up the Intercontinental Championship. He did leave with the belt too, but I don't know if that means he's going to be one of these, he's going to claim he's an uncrowned champion or something. That's typically a heel move. So heels usually are the ones to steal belts. So I would imagine this is probably not going to go anywhere with Styles taking Dom's Intercontinental Championship, but the physical title, we'll see. I don't know if I want it to be something. We don't need AJ playing thief here. But ultimately, do I think he's going to win the Intercontinental Championship? Perhaps. It's possible, given the fact that Finn could be the one to do it and cost Dom finally, where that group or that duo finally comes to blows. It's very, very possible. And having AJ Styles get one more run with a major championship is something I think AJ deserves. So AJ Styles taking on Dom from the Intercontinental Championship, I think will be a real chance for Dom to lose that. So we have Bayley shown walking backstage. She passed the latest Grayson Waller and Austin Theory argument, only this time with Kofi and Xavier standing by. Bayley then comes out and brought up the old saying that you don't know what you've got till it's gone, and said that's not an issue when she's in the ring. She said it's when she was born, what she's born to do and what she puts her heart and soul into, and said she was robbed of a WrestleMania match, and said she doesn't put her body on the line just for one night. She doesn't do it for the big moment or for the championship or only for WrestleMania. I do it for nights like tonight and for people like you. Please, Bayley. Baby faces can be baby faces without just kissing ass. I don't know. Some of the biggest baby faces in the entire company that pro wrestling has ever produced never pandered to the audience. Never. Or if they did, it was done in a way that wasn't so transparent. I never liked this. I mean, you have CM Punk even doing it. He's fighting for these people. Stop. Jey Uso did it as world champion. Bayley's doing it. I don't know. I don't know how people don't see right through this crap. I like Bayley. I really do. But can we remove the necessity for baby faces to kiss the ass of the audience in attendance? The audience will cheer or boo you if they like you or can relate to you or want to live vicariously through you. That's why they cheer or boo. Are you emitting an emotion inside of them? Are you able to bring that emotion out of people? The answer should be yes. When you start to pander to people and start to say, I'm defending you, I'm just like you, it's the people's championship, it's what they think, then suddenly, as fans, whether they realize it or not, are looking inward, thinking about themselves. It becomes kind of a selfish cheer. You know what I mean? I know that most people don't ever look at it like this. I do. When you get pandered to by a pro wrestling character that is talking about how much they like this crowd or we're a great looking crowd, or again, CM Punk does this at nauseum, and he's so good on the mic, you think he would stay away from this stuff. He doesn't need to do this. And again, when you do this, it subconsciously forces the audience who cheers for this when they say, yay, they're fighting for me. It forces them to look inward on themselves when they should be thinking about the wrestler in the ring. I don't need you to fight my battles, okay? I don't need you to represent me. What do you mean you're fighting for me? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm getting too psychoanalytic about this. So we have, let's see, Bayley calling out Becky Lynch. And that's when she comes out dressed in Chicago Bears attire. And Lynch said she'd rather have her legacy than a bunch of fake friends. And Bayley spoke about the people and said she refused to fight for the people. Again, we don't need people to fight or not fight for us. We're not in a fight. We're not asking people to take our side on anything. Just you guys fight. We'll decide who we like better. We don't need you to tell us why we should or shouldn't like you because you're telling us you're fighting for us or you're not. I don't understand. It's like so elementary of logic here that it's insulting. But people cheer for this or boo this. I would just not respond at all. Anyway, she said the people stopped caring about her and Bayley. Lynch said she didn't give a damn, or the people didn't give a damn when she was replaced Bayley at WrestleMania. Bayley said Lynch took her out so she could be a surprise at WrestleMania because she didn't know the fans would react or how they would. And Bayley asked Lynch if she even remembers what it's like to fight for opportunities. Bayley asked Lynch if her head is so far up her own ass that she doesn't remember. So that's actually, before I continue, I actually did enjoy this part of the promo because it brought something to light that a lot of fans thought happened here, that Bayley was taken off because Lynch needed a spot to come into at WrestleMania. And there is some truth to that. And they're just simply taking something that is got a little bit of truth to it and putting it out in front of the camera, and it's working. So Lynch said she doesn't remember. Then asked Bayley if she remembers what gold feels like. Bayley told Lynch to remind her what it feels like, and Becky said if Bayley wanted a match, she could have one, but not in Green Bay and not for her title. And Lynch told Bayley that she would see her in Columbus at next week's Raw. And Lynch slapped Bayley, who responded by dropping Lynch with a forearm. So solid segment here. Again, despite my criticisms about the narrative of pandering, it was a solid segment by two professionals that haven't been in the ring together in a while. And two of the original four horsewomen, cool to see them back in the ring. You don't know how many times more we're going to be able to see this as WWE continues to just not use Bayley at all, or they didn't for a long period of time. We'll see if it continues after this feud. I really don't believe that there's any intention of giving Bayley the belt here, but it's fun to at least have her in the conversation. Okay. We have Kairi Sane again. This is where we had the Kairi Sane entrance, and Liv Morgan got the injury. We already talked about that. We backstage, Lyra approached Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, and told her that she's just trying to do what's best for her. Bayley apologized for not responding to her texts because it was a rough couple of months, and Valkyria said she understood and added that if Bayley wins the title, then she'll face her for it because she's also going to do what's best for herself. So Lyra's still in the conversation as well. I like how she's not just fading out into the, into nothingness, into the ether, that she's continuing to try to reclaim what she lost, even though she probably isn't going to win it back for quite some time. So, yeah, again, a very fluky injury here that happened to Liv. We went through that, so I won't rehash. So we continue here. Backstage, Kathy Kelly interviews Sami Zayn about being in the King of the Ring semifinals. And Sami talked about how the opportunity to win the World Championship felt different this time. Karrion Kross said Zayn would lose to Randy Orton on SmackDown, and Kross said Orton would go on to win a 16th championship, while Zayn would remain at 0 World Championship reigns. Sami called Kross a coward who talks a big game backstage, and Zayn told him he was finished listening to him talk, and that was it. They walked away. All right. In the third hour here, we got Sheamus versus Rusev versus Bronson Reed in a 4-way for the King of the Ring here. And, next week's Raw, by the way, Becky Lynch versus Bayley for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Jade Cargill versus Roxanne Perez in a Queen of the Ring semifinal match. And Cody Rhodes faces the winner of the next match in a King of the Ring semifinal. So let's see who that is. We'll find out. This match here in the men's 4-way went 17 minutes and 25 seconds with Jey Uso winning. Really good match here, as most of the main events are for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. Very rarely do we ever come on here and criticize the quality of a main event. Jey Uso wins because the finish, with Penta showing up and hitting Breaker with a flip dive because Breaker interfered. And in the ring, Reed hit Jay with a Death Valley driver. Reed went up for another tsunami, but LA Knight, yes, LA Knight showed up and pushed him off the ropes into the ring. Jay spears Reed, hits an Uso splash onto Reed's back, and then went up top and hit Reed with another Uso splash and got the victory. Seth Rollins comes out angry, undressing himself, and he looked like he was about to, beat down Jay. That's when Cody Rhodes' music hit. He also undressed himself. There's a lot of clothes left in the aisleway, and luckily for Cody, he wasn't wearing a suit. He actually had one of his jumpsuits on, one of his track suits, and he ends up staring down Seth Rollins as the fans are chanting "Holy S." I don't know why. The bar for chanting that is really low these days. Like anything that's even mildly new again, I guess we're going to say is a Holy S moment. Holy S used to be reserved. Remember how special that chant was? For some of the most crazy moments that we've ever seen. And now it's reduced to a stare down from two guys that had many matches in the past, not so distant past either. Again, I have nothing against Cody versus Seth Rollins. They put on excellent matches, but I'm simply criticizing the use of the chant because it used to be reserved for such special moments or big moments. But what do I know? All right. So Jey Uso is going to face Cody Rhodes for a spot at the King of the Ring finals, and Cody Rhodes saves the day again. Why Cody Rhodes is on Raw? Who knows? You can't even make the excuse it's because he's the champion anymore. Like, why is he here? Who knows? He's here to just be the white knight. So, sure, WWE wants to make a draft. I'm not paying attention to it because they're not going to. But we're not even going to... It's not like the announcers were even like, oh my God, Cody Rhodes is on Raw. What's he doing here? They're just like, oh, here comes Cody. It's kind of matter of fact. So, that said, overall, an enjoyable show. I really did enjoy Monday Night Raw, despite my criticisms that I do often make a dramatic analysis about. But I did think it was a good show, a really eventful show, a memorable show, with two big returns, a major injury, King of the Ring implications, as I said, Saturday Night Main Event implications. I mean, Night of Champion implications. It goes down the list here. There's a lot that happened on this show. A lot that happened that's going to have reverberating effects as we move forward into Saturday Night Main Event and Night of Champions, and then the Evolution PLE that Nikki Bella is going to have to find a new opponent for, and then SummerSlam and who's going to face Gunther, and that's it. So a lot happened here, as I said, and you guys can follow us. Follow all of the details. Follow all of the developments right here on the show as SmackDown comes to you on Friday, which should be a pretty damn big show. I expect with Cody versus Jay. Next week, we have a Women's Intercontinental Championship match, as I said, with Becky versus Bayley. That's a pretty big one that we're getting on free television, that they could easily make a PLE match. And so thank you everybody for listening. As I said earlier in the show, if you want to go ad free, patreon.com/WWE podcast, or follow me on X. I have some lively discussions with people. It's a good time over there. And I'm right on X. If you search the WWE podcast, or if you don't want to search for my user tag, it's wrestling_audio. If you want to follow me there. I also do another show called The War on Truth. It's not about wrestling, so be forewarned. It's a show about politics and culture. So, yep, not wrestling. I said it's not wrestling. Some of you want to go over there and be like, I don't want to hear this. Well, I kind of gave you a little bit of a heads up that it's not about wrestling. So check it out. It's called The War on Truth. That we just dropped an episode. I think it was yesterday. Yesterday, I think I dropped a new one. So check that out. I'm also on Patreon there. If you want to check me out, patreon.com/warontruth. If you want to go ad free for that show as well. All right, that'll do it for me, everybody. I appreciate you and you taking the time out of your day or morning or evening or whatever to listen to the show. I do appreciate it, and we'll be back on Friday with your mailbag. So send in those questions to mailbag@wwepodcast.com, or if you become a patron, we'll read your email or message right at the beginning of the show. So there's another perk to go on Patreon. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.